Hi guys, let's continue reading the Environment and Disaster Management section of the 12th series of ALS Current Affairs 2019-2020. So the first topic is Environment Performance Index, EPI 2020. India secured 168th rank in the 12th edition of the Environment Performance Index EPI 2020. India's rank was 177th in 2018. The EPI Index 2020 measured the governmental performance. Okay, so the EPI Index 2020 measured the environmental performance of 180 countries. The index considered 32 indicators of environmental performance and included 10-year trends in environmental performance at the national and global levels. Denmark topped the index with a score of 82.5. India's performance. India scored 27.6 out of 100 in the 2020 EPI index, and its performance was worse than all South Asian countries except Afghanistan. India scored below the regional South Asia average score of all five key parameters on environmental health, including air quality, sanitation and drinking water, heavy metals, and waste management. These findings resonated with the concerns raised by the State of India's Environment 2020 in figures published by the Centre for Science and Environment. It has also scored below the regional average on parameters related to biodiversity and ecosystem services. Second position after Afghanistan on climate change among the South Asia countries. So India was at second position after Pakistan on climate change among the South Asia countries. Pakistan's score 50.6 was the highest under the climate change category. A 10-year comparison progress report in the index showed that India slipped on climate-related parameters. The report indicated that black carbon, carbon dioxide emissions, and greenhouse emissions per capita increased in 10 years. Now let's come to Environmental Performance Index, that is EPI. The EPI is a biennial index prepared by Yale University and Columbia University in collaboration with the World Economic Forum. So the EPI, that is Environmental Performance Index, is a biennial index prepared by Yale University and Columbia University in collaboration with the World Economic Forum. It offers a scorecard that highlights leaders and laggards So, it offers a scorecard that highlights leaders and laggards in environmental performance and provides practical guidance for countries that aspire to move toward a sustainable future. This index was first published in 2002, designed to implement the environmental targets set forth in the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. Now let's come to environmental conservation programs in India. So, environmental conservation programs in India. Number 1, climate change, National Action Plan on Climate Change. Number 2, desertification, National Action Program to combat desertification. Number 3, pollution control, National Clean Air Program. Number 4, environmental impact assessment. So, number 4 is environmental impact assessment. Environment management plan. Number 5, forest protection, National Afforestation Program. Number 6, animal conservation, Project Elephant, Project Tiger. Now let's come to the next topic, that is healthy and energy efficient buildings initiative. The Energy Efficiency Services Limited EESL on 5th June 2020 launched the Healthy and Energy Efficient Buildings initiative that will pioneer ways to make workplaces healthier and greener. The initiative has been launched by EESL in partnership with the U.S. Agency for International Development's USAID Maitri program. As part of this initiative, the EESL has taken the leadership by being the first to implement this framework in its own offices. This initiative addresses the challenges of retrofitting existing buildings and air conditioning systems so that they are both healthy and energy efficient. It will pave the way for other buildings to take appropriate steps to be healthy and energy efficient. Now let's come to MAITRE, MAITREE. The Market Integration and Transformation Program for Energy Efficiency. MAITRE is a part of the US India bilateral partnership between the Ministry of Power and USAID. It is aimed at accelerating the adoption of cost effective energy efficiency as a standard practice within buildings and specifically focuses on cooling. Now let's come to significance of the initiative. Poor air quality has been a concern in India for quite some time and has become more important in light of the COVID pandemic. As people return to their offices and public spaces, maintaining good indoor air quality is essential for occupant comfort, well-being, productivity, and the overall public health. Most buildings in India are not equipped to establish and maintain healthy indoor air quality and need to be upgraded. The EESL office pilot will address this problem by developing specifications for future use in other buildings throughout the country. It will aid in evaluating the effectiveness and cost benefits of various technologies and their short and long term impacts on air quality, comfort, and energy use. Now let's come to EESL, the Energy Efficiency Services Limited, EESL under the administration of Ministry of Power is working towards mainstreaming energy efficiency. It is implementing the world's largest energy efficiency portfolio in the country. The EESL aims to create market access for efficient and future-ready transformative solutions that create a win-win situation for every stakeholder. USAID. The USAID is the world's premier international development agency and a catalytic actor driving development results. Now let's come to the next topic, that is International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships. So why was this in the news? The Ministry of Shipping has informed about the steps taken for prevention and control of pollution arising from ships in the sea and in the inland waterways under the MARPOL Convention, MARPOL Convention. The MARPOL is the main international convention aimed at the prevention of pollution from ships caused by operational or accidental causes. The Protocol of 1978 was adopted in response to a number of tanker accidents in 1976 to 1977. It is one of the most important international marine environmental conventions. It was developed by the IMO with an objective to minimize pollution of the oceans and seas, including dumping, oil and air pollution. The convention includes regulations aimed at preventing and minimizing pollution from ships, both accidental pollution and that from routine operations. India is a signatory to MARPOL. It has annexes 1 to 6. It has 6 annexes 1 to 6, and it deals with prevention of number 1 pollution from ships by oil, number 2 noxious liquid substances, number 3 dangerous goods in packaged form, number 4 sewage, number 5 garbage, and number 6 air pollution from ships respectively. Now let's come to the next topic, that is oil spill in Arctic region. Africa declared, oil spill in Arctic region. Russia declared a state of emergency on 3rd June 2020 after a power plant fuel leak in its Arctic region caused 20,000 tons of diesel oil to escape into a local river, turning its surface crimson red. The Ambarnaya River, into which the oil has been discharged, is part of a network that flows into the environmentally sensitive Arctic Ocean. The spillage occurred in Russia's Krasnoyarsk region, where the power plant is located near the region's Norilsk city, around 3,000 kilometers northeast of Moscow. So the spillage occurred in Russia's Krasnoyarsk region, where the power plant is located near the region's Norilsk city, around 3,000 kilometers northeast of Moscow. The thermoelectric power plant is built on permafrost region, which has weakened over the years due to climate change. This weakening caused the pillars that supported the plant's fuel tank to sink, leading to a loss of containment of oil. After the spillage, around 20,000 tons of diesel oil was released into the Ambarnaya River, which has drifted 12 kilometers on its surface till now. What are the concerns? The leak may have a serious impact on the local ecology as the Ambarnaya River flows to the Piasino Lake and to River Piasina, which connects it to the Kara Sea, a part of the Arctic Ocean. The region is rich in salmon, seals, sea otters, and seabirds, and fishing is impossible now in the region. According to environmentalists, the river would be difficult to clean given its shallow waters and remote location, as well as the magnitude of the spill, and the cleanup effort could take between 5 to 10 years. The Russian chapter of activist group Greenpeace said damages to the Arctic waterways could be at least 6 billion rubles, over 76 million US dollar. The WWF described this as the second largest known oil leak in modern Russia's history in terms of volume, without estimation of atmospheric damage due to greenhouse gases and oil pollution. Russia's response: boom obstacles, which are temporary floating barriers used to contain marine spills, have been placed in the river, but they were unable to contain the oil because of shallow waters. The state of emergency declared would bring in extra forces and federal resources for the cleanup efforts in coming days, as mentioned by government officials. A probe into the incident has been ordered, and so far 3 criminal proceedings have been initiated and the head of the power plant has been detained. The government has opposed setting the vast quantity of oil on fire, and a recommendation of diluting the layer with reagents has been put. What is permafrost reason? Permafrost is permanently frozen soil and occurs mostly in high latitudes. Permafrost comprises 24% of the land in the northern hemisphere and also to a lesser extent in the southern hemisphere, and stores massive amounts of carbon. Now let's come to composition of permafrost. Permafrost is made up of a combination of soil, rocks, and sand that are held together by ice. So permafrost is made up of combination of soil, rocks, and sand that are held together by ice. The soil and ice in permafrost stay frozen all year long. Near the surface, permafrost soils also contain large quantities of organic carbon, a material left over from dead plants that could not decompose due to the cold. Lower permafrost layers contain soils made mostly of minerals. Top layer of permafrost does not stay frozen all year. This layer, called the active layer, thaws during the warm summer months and freezes again in the fall. Now let's come to the next topic, that is Indian Gaur Bison. Recently, the first population estimation exercise of the Indian Gaur, that is bison, was carried out in the Nilgiris Forest Division, Tamil Nadu. The Indian gaur, also called the Indian bison, is one of the largest extant bovines found in India. It is native to South and Southeast Asia and has been listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List since 1986. The global population has been estimated at maximum 21,000 mature individuals by 2016. It declined by more than 70% during the last three generations and is extinct in Sri Lanka and probably also in Bangladesh. In Malaysia, it is called Seladang and Pyong in Myanmar. The domesticated form of the gaur is called Gayal, Bos frontalis, or Mithun. They are highly threatened by poaching for trade to supply international markets, but also by opportunistic hunting and specific hunting for home consumption. Now let's come to the next topic, that is Race to Zero campaign. The UN on 5th June 2020 launched the Race to Zero campaign ahead of delayed COP26 climate talks. The campaign aims to codify commitments made via the Climate Ambition Alliance (CAA), which launched ahead of last year's COP25 in Madrid. It encourages countries, companies, and other entities to deliver structured net zero greenhouse gas emission pledges by the time the talks begin. This messaging for the campaign, carried out under the aegis of the UNFCCC, seeks to emphasize the potential for non-state actors to raise climate ambition. The campaign refers to these as real economy actors, noting they cover just over half the gross domestic product, a quarter of global carbon dioxide emissions, and over 2.6 billion people. Now let's come to Climate Ambition Alliance. The CAA, that is the Climate Ambition Alliance, currently includes 120 nations and several other private players that have committed to achieving zero net greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Signatories are responsible for 23% of current greenhouse gas emissions worldwide and 53% of global GDP. Criteria. The minimum criteria for establishing a recognized pledge were developed through dialogues coordinated by the Oxford University. The pledges must include a clear net zero target date no later than 2050. They must also begin immediately and include interim targets. Much like the Paris Agreement itself, the criteria are designed to strengthen over time, but they begin at a level that reflects current best practices. Issue over offsetting. Offsets are emission reductions generated outside a company's own operations, and they are used in both compliance programs to meet mandated emission caps, cap and trade, and in voluntary programs to reduce a company's overall impact, that is, voluntary carbon markets. The race to zero criteria emphasizes that if offsets are ultimately recognized, they must also be used to neutralize residual emissions that cannot be eliminated internally, at least not immediately. Now let's come to the next topic, that is Nature Index 2020. Recently, the Nature Index 2020 was released. Key findings of the Nature Index 2020. Three of the autonomous institutions of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, had found their place among top 30 Indian institutions. The top three autonomous institutions of the DST are the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, IACS, Kolkata, which is in 7th rank. Then the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, JNCASR, Bangalore, which is in 14th rank. And SN Bose National Center for Basic Science, Kolkata, which is in 30th rank. The IACS is among the top three institutions in quality chemistry research in India. The JNCASR ranks fourth among academic institutions in life sciences, 10th in chemistry and physical sciences, 10th among Indian academic institutions, and 469th in global ranking. The Council of Scientific and Industrial Research CSIR, a group of 39 institutions, was ranked at the 160th position, and Indian Institute of Science IISc Bangalore at the 184th position. Now let's come to Nature Index. It is a database of author affiliations and institutional relationships. It tracks contributions to research articles published in 82 high-quality natural science journals chosen by an independent group of researchers. It provides absolute and fractional counts of article publications at the institutional and national level, and as such is an indicator of global high-quality research output and collaboration. The Nature Index uses article count called count and fractional count called share to track research output. Now let's come to the next topic, that is new guidelines for import of exotic species. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change MOEFCC on 10th June 2020 issued an advisory to make a voluntary disclosure for people importing exotic life species. The exotic life species are plant or animal species that move from the original range to a new one. They are invasive, non-indigenous, and bioinvaders. They are species of plants and animals that are growing in the non-native environment. Most introduced species do not survive for extended periods in new habitats because they do not possess the evolutionary adaptations or adjust to the challenges posed by their new surroundings, and some introduced species may become invasive when they possess a built-in competitive advantage over indigenous species in areas. Human activities involved in the global wildlife trade are considered to be the most common ways of transportation of invasive plants, animals, microbes, and other organisms to new habitats. Exotic life species shall be construed to mean only the animals named under the appendices 1, 2, and 3 of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, sites of wild fauna and flora. In CITES Appendix 1, no trade happens. In Appendix 2, trade can happen with prior permission, and in Appendix 3, there are a large number of animals and birds which can be traded. Now let's come to the guidelines. For new exotic life species, the importer should obtain a no objection certificate from the Chief Wildlife Warden (CWLW) of the state, and for existing species, stocks shall be declared by the owner or holder. Stock as on 1st January 2020 to the Chief Wildlife Warden CWLW of the concerned state or union territory. For import of live exotic species, a license needs to be obtained from the Director General of Foreign Trade. Registration of the progeny of imported animals to the respective CWLW within 30 days after their birth is required. It highlights a period of 6 months from the date of the official order to be given for voluntary disclosure for possession of exotic live species in India, and the disclosure needs to be made before the Chief Wildlife Warden of each state. This is the first time that CITES Appendix listed animals will be examined by the State Forest Department. Forest officials will physically verify the submissions, check whether the facilities where the species are being housed are safe, and state chief wildlife wardens have been given the power to take action as they see fit for any violations. Those intending to import have to obtain a health certificate from the National Health Agency from the origin of the country where the species is being brought, indicating that they are free from any diseases, and also carry health cards for each exotic species being imported. Rationale behind the guidelines. There are many reasons for creating these guidelines, but the COVID-19 pandemic is the primary one that has raised global concern about illegal wildlife trade and zoonotic diseases. For curbing illegal exotic wildlife trade in India, the source of exotic species being brought to cities without any safeguards that may have a potential health threat, and these regulations will act as deterrents for both buyers and sellers. Now let's come to the next topic, that is rise in the population of Asiatic lions. Recently, the Gujarat Forest Department has announced an increase in the population of Asiatic lions in the Gir Forest region. Total 674 lions were recorded compared to the 523 in the lion census of 2015. The count was estimated from a population observation exercise called Poonam Avlokan in place of the 15th lion census. Poonam Avlokan is a monthly in-house exercise carried out every full moon. It was a mechanism developed by the Forest Department in 2014 as part of preparations for the 2015 lion census. According to recent estimates, the lion population has grown by almost 29% from the last count in 2015. The lion population in the state of Gujarat has doubled since 2001. Poonam Avlokan. The first lion census was conducted by the Nawab of Junagadh in 1936. Since 1965, the Forest Department has been regularly conducting the lion census every 5 years. The last census was conducted in 2015. The lion census usually runs for more than 2 days, including a preliminary census and a final census. However, the Poonam Avlokan is carried out for 24 hours, assessing the number of lions and their locations in their respective jurisdictions. The Forest Department invites NGOs, experts, and wildlife enthusiasts to join the census for transparency and augmenting manpower. The Poonam Avlokan exercise is conducted only by forest staff. Thus, the lion census experiences larger participation of the people compared to the Poonam Avlokan exercise. The lion census is done using the block counting method in which census enumerators remain stationed at water points in a given block and estimate abundance of lions in that block based on direct sighting of lions who need to drink water at least once in 24 hours during the summer. Under Poonam Avlokan exercise, the teams keep moving in their respective territories and make their estimates based on inputs provided by lion trackers and on chance sightings. Now let's come to Gir National Park. The Gir National Park and Wildlife Sanctuary is located in the Junagadh district of Gujarat. The Gir forest is the only natural habitat of Asiatic lions. It was declared as a sanctuary in 1965 and a national park in 1975. Gir is often linked with Maldharis who have survived through the ages by having a symbiotic relationship with the lions. Maldharis are religious pastoral communities living in Gir. Their settlements are called nasses. Protection of Asiatic lions. The Asiatic lions are protected under the IUCN Red List Endangered Sites, Appendix 1 and Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Schedule 1. The Asiatic Lion Conservation Project has been launched by the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change (MOEFCC). The project has been approved for 3 financial years from 2018 to 2021. The project envisages scientific management with the involvement of communities in coordination with multi-sectoral agencies for disease control and veterinary care for overall conservation of the Asiatic lions. Now let's come to the next topic, that is pangolin and its protection. In a move aimed at protecting the most trafficked species in the world, China accorded pangolin the highest level of protection and removed its scales from its list of approved traditional medicines. Pangolin, they are scaly ant-eater mammals of the order Pholidota, and they have large protective keratin scales covering their skin, and they are the only known mammals with this feature. Pangolins are nocturnal and their diet consists of mainly ants and termites, which they capture using their long tongues. Geographical location. There are 8 species of pangolin found in Asia and Africa, while the Chinese pangolin, Manis pentadactyla, so it's called scientific name is Manis pentadactyla, is found in northeastern India. The Indian pangolin is distributed in other parts of the country as well as Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Now let's come to its protection. Both these species are protected and are listed under the Schedule 1 Part 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and under Appendix 1 of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species (CITES). IUCN status: Indian pangolin endangered, Chinese pangolin critically endangered. Now let's come to its threats. According to the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, pangolin populations in China have dropped by more than 90% since 1960. These species are hunted for its meat across the northeastern states and in central India and smuggled for scales, especially in China, as it is believed that scales possess magic or charms and have medicinal properties. Now let's come to the next topic, that is the Malabar gliding frog. Recently, a rare amphibian, Malabar gliding frog, was spotted in Pulad, Kerala. The amphibian is endemic to the rainforest of Western Ghats. Endemic species are those plants and animals that exist only in one geographical region. It is a green frog with slender body, webbed feet, unusual body positions, and very well camouflaged. Camouflage, also called cryptic coloration, is a defense mechanism or tactic that organisms use to disguise their appearance, usually to blend in with their surroundings. It has a body length of 10 centimeter, making it one of the largest mossy frogs. Mossy frogs have the skin which is green in color and resembles moss growing on the rock. As their body is so soft, they can live only in moist forest with streams. It is placed in the least concern category in the International Union for Conservation of Nature (IUCN) Red List. Now let's come to the next topic, that is United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification UNCCD. The United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification UNCCD in its latest report mentions that physical distance between animals and humans has reduced due to land degradation. This has resulted in frequent interactions between both, which is a probable cause of a zoonotic disease like COVID-19. The June 17 is observed as the World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought globally. This year's global observance event was hosted by the Korea Forest Service online in the wake of COVID crisis. Key highlights of the report. About 70% of all natural ice-free land in the world is affected by human use, and report emphasize on an urgent need for the land use pattern to check land degradation. The global economy is heading for a recession and social relations are changing, which creates the urgency at the policy and practical levels to slow down and reverse land use change. Land degradation affects some 3.2 billion people worldwide, and this could further rise to 90% by 2050 if not checked. The major cause of land use change is agricultural land for food, animal feed, and fiber. By 2050, over 500 By 2050, over 500 mega hectares of new agricultural land will be needed to meet the global food demand, which may worsen the scenario. The mentions it mentions that in the largest ever global restoration initiative in the last 5 years, close to 100 countries have earmarked areas for repair and restoration by 2030, which is around 400 mega hectares. United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification UNCCD. Established in 1994, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification UNCCD is the sole legally binding international agreement linking environment and development to sustainable land management. The convention addresses specifically the arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas known as the drylands, where some of the most vulnerable ecosystems and peoples can be found. India became a signatory to UNCCD on October 14, 1994 and ratified it on December 17, 1996. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is the nodal ministry for the convention. Now let's come to desertification. Desertification is the process by which the biological productivity of drylands, arid and semi-arid lands is reduced due to natural or man-made factors. It does not mean the expansion of existing deserts. Causes. The major factors responsible for desertification are overcultivation, overgrazing, deforestation, and poor irrigation practices, etc. Now let's come to desertification in India. India faces a severe problem of land degradation. About 29.32% of the total geographical area of the country is undergoing the process of desertification or land degradation. A 2016 report by the ISRO found that about 29% of India's land in 2011 to 13 was degraded, this being a 0.57% increase from 2003 to 2005. At the COP13, India has committed to restoring 13 million hectares of degraded and deforested land by the year 2020 and an additional 8 million hectares by 2030. In 8 states, that is Rajasthan, Delhi, Goa, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Nagaland, Tripura, and Himachal Pradesh, around 40 to 70% of the land has undergone desertification. Loss of soil cover, mainly due to rainfall and surface runoff, is one of the biggest reasons for desertification. It is responsible for 98% of desertification in the country. So, what are the initiatives? National Afforestation Program NAP for ecological restoration of degraded forest areas is being implemented by the National Afforestation and Eco Development Board and AEB division of the MOEFCC. There are multiple schemes like Green India Mission Fund accumulated under Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority CAMPA, Nagar Van Yojana, etc., which are helping in land conservation. The MOEFCC also promotes tree outside forest, realizing that the country has a huge potential for increasing its trees outside forest. TOF. Improved fire management and improved grazing land can help inland restoration. So improved fire management and improved grazing land can help in land restoration. Now let's come to World Crocodile Day. The World Crocodile Day is celebrated on 17th June. The day is a global awareness campaign to highlight the plight of endangered crocodiles and alligators around the world. Crocodile species found in India includes mugger or marsh crocodile, estuarine or saltwater crocodile, gharial or river water crocodile. Human crocodile conflict hotspots in India includes Vadodara in Gujarat and Vishwamitri River, Kota in Rajasthan, Bhitarkanika in Orissa, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Culling has been recommended a few years back in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands by the Forest Department to the MOEFCC. Indian Crocodile Conservation Project. The Crocodile Conservation Project was launched in 1975 in different states. The gharial and saltwater crocodile conservation program was first implemented in Orissa in early 1975 and subsequently the mugger conservation program was initiated. The gharial crocodile project started in Tikarpara 1975 aims to increase the sighting to 5 crocodiles per kilometer length of water. As a result of the program, the estimated number of the saltwater crocodiles increased from 96 in 1976 to 1,640 in 2012 in India. Crocbite. The Crocbite is an online database of crocodile attacks reported on humans. The non-profit online research tool helps to scientifically analyze crocodile behavior via complex models. Users are encouraged to feed information in a crowdsourcing manner and the uploaded information needs to be verifiable. The database provides key insights into crocodile attack patterns and draws inferences to save human lives. The information is vital for Australia and Africa, where such attacks are more likely than in other parts of the world. This is the only database of its kind with such comprehensive collection of information made available online. So that's all guys. See you in my next video. Bye.